Yat, welcome back to London Real for the 7th time.
Thank you so much for having me again for the 7th time. It's always wonderful to be here.
You know, we were just talking about it. 4 years ago was our first interview. We did it remote because at the time I think everyone was locked down.
It was COVID. So we had to do it over video.
We had to. And I literally didn't know what the metaverse was. And you actually explained it to me on that call and started this crazy adventure that we've been on and the world's been on. So it's always a pleasure to have you back here. So many things to talk about today because the world is changing, exponentially, it seems. Maybe we first talk about the USA, the Trump administration, and what I hear, this upcoming Animoca IPO in the States that was recently posted in the news. Talk to me about all those things.
Well, okay. So maybe let's quickly on the Animoca IPO and just what we want to do in the US. So as I had said earlier, the US represents probably the biggest, most important opportunity in the crypto Web3 space. And that has a lot to do with the regulatory shift. It has also a lot to do with the sort of pent-up demand that the US actually and US people want to have around crypto and blockchain. And I think the thing is also for us as a business, it's an unusual time when you think about it, because normally speaking, when you think about the US, it usually tends to be leading in the technology sector. I can't think of any sector in technology or really in any industry, safe manufacturing, that kind of stuff, which is sort of industrial age type of stuff, where America isn't leading. But in crypto, it is not. There is no real peer to Animoca for the time being. Even when you look at exchanges, right? Sure. Coinbase is a wonderfully large exchange, but in comparison to the trading volumes of a Binance, for instance, or, OKX or Bybit, they're actually much, much smaller. Or if you look at Upbit in Korea, they're much smaller in comparison.
Yeah.
So again, because the US had such a heavy-handed regulatory environment, they've kind of stopped the development of crypto for such a long time, despite its market size and its sort of pent-up demand. And so for this scenario, we and other companies actually happen to have a leadership position without a real sort of American peer for the time being, which represents an opportunity for companies like us to actually look at the American opportunity to invest in America. We already have quite a few portfolio companies, but we stayed away from the US for all those reasons. And now it makes sense for us to come back there. So does it mean that we're going to go public in the US? It's certainly one very serious contender, given liquidity in markets. And of course, when you look at all of the sort of recent IPOs that took place, especially Circle, for instance, they've done phenomenally well. So as a result, of course, we need to look at that market seriously as well. Had you asked me this question 6 to 9 months earlier, I would be like, US, no way, right? And now, of course, we have to take that seriously, right? And having just completed our sort of 21 audit, actually that opens up the pathway to the closing of the remaining audits, basically helping us essentially get into sort of a final track to sort of an IPO. But quickly to the question on the US. So when Trump obviously became president, all the markets rallied in crypto. But then, of course, there are also these funny things that happen, such as the Trump coin, the Melania coin as well, and then all the tariffs.
How do you get out of a rat race? How do you create wealth not only for yourself, but also for the generations to come after?
I am absolutely amazed with the quality of companies that we're getting exposure to.
We go on to Zoom calls with the innovators and the folks who are building new applications in metaverse, blockchain, artificial intelligence, decentralized finance.
What's going on, everybody? Thumbs up if you can see me.
We are focusing on early stage investment.
And the quality of people that we're getting exposure to, whether it be Dan Tapiero with 1RT, Jason Ma from Open, Yat Siu from Animoca.
It's been a phenomenal experience thus far. It has far exceeded my expectations.
We are focusing on cutting edge technologies.
I view it now as the best investment I've ever made. The upside I view is unlimited.
And as a retail investor, I would never get this exposure anywhere else outside of Investment Club.
See you in the Investment Club.
And of course, most recently, what's happening in Iran and with Israel and so on. One thing that he has definitely introduced is a whole lot of volatility in the market and things that you can't really predict. And while crypto has been moving up and down, of course, as the rest of the global markets have, Bitcoin has still broadly stayed at about 100,000 plus, give or take, right? So it's actually been fairly resilient. And if there's one thing that I think the audiences in crypto and in blockchain are accustomed to, it's that kind of volatility. And I would also say that, I think I mentioned this earlier in the show with you, we live in very volatile times all the time anyway, and what capitalism does It just shows you where the attention is at that moment in time. So where the price action is, whether the price is up or down, is actually a form of information. It tells you something about what's going on in the world. And the fact that, for instance, Bitcoin has stayed fairly stable tells you a little bit about sort of what is that asset class. It's not as volatile. Maybe that becomes a sort of quasi-safe haven, even though it's considered a risk-on asset. Actually, of the risk-on assets, maybe it's considered a good hedge. And you're kind of seeing that because in these markets, why is Bitcoin not at like 70 or 80, as some people have predicted? It's actually still floating at about 100, for instance. So you can kind of see where that's developing as well. So that to me says more about that state of where people are in terms of blockchain and crypto than necessarily sort of what happened to all the other tokens in the market, right? Now, the entire space is still in excess of about $3 trillion, despite all of that, which when you compare again to 3 or 4 years ago is in some cases, anywhere from 2 to 3 times up, right? So again, very, very positive signals. But what does it mean? I think really the US policies with the passing of the Genius Act as well, with things like the Circle IPO, I think the Markets Act is being considered at this moment in time as well, right? The US is going to really sort of push forward the crypto agenda worldwide. Imagine if you're a US trading partner, you're somewhere around the world, call it, I don't know, Malaysia or, some place in the Middle East or whatever that doesn't yet have sort of, crypto regulation, or say even India, major partner of the US as well, right? Yeah. And sort of you now have a stable coin issued by a bank because of the, Stablecoin Act. So that means, we should be expecting JP Morgan coins or Citibank coins, and they're going to send that over across essentially to you as a client or as a customer. And the receiving bank is like, what do I do with this? I can't receive it. I don't have regulation. I don't have a structure for it. It forces every government to quickly accelerate just so they can do business with the US, right? Mm. And when you think about the sort of way that technology was adopted worldwide, the internet really started global adoption because the world wanted to get the information and trade and interact with America. If you might remember back in the early days, every major country was trying to build their own intranet, as in an intranet of internets, right? Like China had this version, for instance, and other places tried to build sort of a local internet. It didn't work out because at the end of the day, sort of, global free trade and information, essentially free information ended up succeeding, right? Even the fact that there's a firewall in China, at the end of the day, if you're Chinese and you want to have access to American news or content, you know how to get that, right? Right. So the fact is that the internet spread because of people wanting to do business or trade with America, whether it's for money, for value, or for information. And that happened earlier, by the way, with things like telex and the fax machine. Again, worldwide, companies were adopting that technology so they could do business with the US. And the same will happen with crypto and stablecoin. The rest of the world will have to move very, very quickly. Places like Hong Kong and, of course, Dubai, are already somewhat ahead, but the rest of the world is far behind. And now they have to play catch up because of the fact that the US has leapfrogged everyone pretty much, with the exception of Hong Kong, by having passed essentially a stablecoin act ahead of most other countries.
Hey, I know investing in crypto is scary. It takes a real leap of faith because there are so many scams, rug pulls, and bad actors out there. It's a dangerous business, which is why 95% of people lose all their money. Well, that's why I created the London Real Investment Club, so you can access the hottest deals on the planet and use the crypto bull market to create the generational wealth that you deserve. Join my team of over 100 people from around the world that are making millions of dollars behind the scenes investing in blockchain, AI, Web3 games, DeFi, Bitcoin, and more. Don't miss out. Click the link below to book a call with one of my team now. But hurry, this bull market will end soon.
I know investing crypto can be scary. That's why you gotta join the investment club. Pull the trigger. Let's do this.